Hello and welcome back to ISpeakSpokeSpoken. My name is James, and today we've got another live lesson. I'm going to try and get myself comfortable. I just came out of another class, so I'm going to try and reorganize my seating. And yeah, we had a lot of people in last week's one. I'm not too sure how many we're going to have this week, but nevertheless, it will be fun. We had about 100 people at one point last time, so that was great. But yes, no matter what, it's always fun. And yep, I'm just going to wait a few minutes until we get some people in the lesson. I think we will start to get people when YouTube kind of and any other site starts to tell people that we're live, which it tends to take about a minute to do. But in the meantime, for the people who are here, please tell me, how is your week going? What is the weather like in your country this week? I feel like we have a little weather forecast session at the start of each class. I don't know. It feels like a very British thing to do, so I like it. I think it's it's a good way to start an English class by talking about the weather, as that's one of our favorite things to do, actually. Let me try and put my headphones in, because that way I will be able to. I think you'll be able to hear me a lot better. Hello, Michelle. Nice to see you. Welcome back. There we are. Let me. Second. I'm sure you can hear me. There we are. Yes, you can. Yep, good to see you back, Michelle. It's always a pleasure. I mean, you're here like every week, so I definitely recognize your name by now. And hello. Oh, hello, Josine. I'm good, thank you. It's been a good week. It's starting to get a little bit. We had a few weeks of heat in England, but now it's starting to get a little bit windier, which, to be honest with you, I'm quite enjoying. It's like, I mean, there were a few weeks where there was kind of no breeze in the air, so it meant that the house was constantly, like, the house I was living in was constantly hot. It was impossible to get any coolness in to the room. But actually, now that there is a breeze, it's a lot easier to actually feel comfortable, especially while sleeping, when you just feel, yeah, it doesn't feel too nice if it's too hot. Hello. Okay. Of course, of course. Yes, it's going to be a good one today. We're talking about some of our W's in England, which is our who, what, when, where, how, whom, and things like this. Let me just upload the files. I can see that people are sending in messages here. Let me, while you're doing that, I will just upload the slides and we can get started. 1 second. Nope, I don't want to share with my phone. Okay, just give me 1 second, guys. Oh my gosh. Oh, here. I've got it. But yes, if you have just joined, please put in the comments how you are and how the weather is where you are. Oh, hello, Sylvia. Nice to see you here. How has your week been? You're from France. Oh, nice. Bonjour. That is pretty much the extent of the French that I know. So maybe I'll have to learn a little bit more French to be able to communicate with, to be able to greet people into the classes. But I hope that you're well, Sylvia. I hope that you've had a great week and that the weather is nice where you are. Okay, the weather is partly cloudy. Yeah, I think it's about the same really as England. It's it looks sunny, but there is a nice wind. So yeah, it just depends, you know, it depends on what time of day. Because I've found in the evenings when the sun has gone down, then it's been pretty cold, which recently it hasn't been, and at the moment it's gotten cold to the point where I've kind of wanted a jacket, to be honest with you. I'm in the south of France. The weather is very hot here. I bet it is. It's, from what I've heard, it's quite usually hot in the south of France. I have family who had a place in the south of France, And yeah, I've heard that it was a nice place, definitely a nice place to sunbathe. Pretty cool place to go to. So yes, I'm glad that you're all doing well. It's good to see some familiar faces and some familiar names, and also some new ones, as always. So let's get right into the video, shall we? And we have what, which, who, whose. Oh, I can't read those last ones. One sec. Oh, yep. Let me go again. What, which, who, whose, and whom. I know we have two whos, but they're actually two different things. Whereas who apostrophe s means who is, and whose, as WHOSE, means the person's. Whose is it? When you're asking about what someone owns and whose that is. No, that's all right. Yo, Jose, now I understood what you meant. In the Alps, the weather is very hot. I bet it is. Oh my gosh, I'm a bit jealous. I kind of, as much as I said, I enjoy the breeze. I still love the heat. Like the when it's really hot, I'm in my element, to be honest with you. I could live in just hot heat. I could live in the heat throughout the year, to be honest with you. Okay, let's get started, guys. So we're starting with what. So how do we use what? What I want you guys to do is on each one, while I'm explaining it to you, I want you to write in the comments an example of a sentence using each one of these. So can you give me an example of a sentence using what in the comments? Okay, so what is used to ask questions about general things or for the information when the choices are not limited. What's that? Oh, there we are not limited. It is an open-ended and does not imply any specific options. So we have some examples here. What are you doing? What is your favorite color? What time does the train leave? What do you think about this idea? What could possibly go wrong? What is the meaning of life? And in addition to questions, what can be used in exclamations or surprise or express surprise or other emotions? So you could just go, wait, what? If someone says something crazy to you, a lot of people would say, what? Or wait, what? Or what do you mean? Or what are you talking about? So yes, what is quite often used for open-ended questions where we want to know some information, and also for expressing surprise or some other emotions. So yes, Sylvia, what are you doing? That is a question that is quite often used in England, and you can swap out the doing for many different things. What are you doing? What are you drinking? What are you eating? Or things like this. And in doing this, you're able to create many sentences and ask many different things. What color are your eyes? Very good one. And I mean, I can answer. My eyes are a greenish blue, I would say. So yeah, they're green, but sometimes they have blue parts to them as well. Which actually I read somewhere, and I don't know how true this fact is, that only 3% of the Earth have this eye color. And it is very rare because actually it's gray. And the fact that I have gray eyes means that my eyes bounce color off of other things. Yeah, so it depends on what I'm wearing. So that is a fun fact for today. What is the weather like? We have two of those. Very good. What is the weather like is a question that I quite often ask at the start of the question of the lesson. So you could either say, what is the weather like, or how is the weather in your country? Either or works just fine. So yeah, good work, guys, and we can move on to the next one. What a pleasure to improve our English with you. Yes, so that one is used for an exclamation. So yeah, what a pleasure to it. Or so you could say, what a pleasure it is to improve our English with you. And the pleasure is mine as well. It is also fun to see you all improving. Okay, so let's move on, shall we? We have some more examples like what you've just said. What a beautiful day. What a surprise to see you here. What an incredible performance. What about the cinema? Very good. Yeah, you can ask that kind of thing as well. So let's use our red words here. So if, as I'm pretty sure you all know, as I recognize most of your names, we have our red words at ISpeakSpokeSpoken English. And with our red words, we like to repeat them because in repeating them, we practice our pronunciation. We practice the vocabulary because you'll be able to understand, you'll be able to remember the vocabulary a lot better. And yeah, the pronunciation work is really important here because you'll learn how to create sounds in which maybe they don't exist in your language. So we can work on those now. So number one is what. What. Next up, favorite. Favorite. Okay. Think. Think. When you have this little round thing with the line through it, just remember what you want to do is almost put your tongue on your teeth and push the air through. And that is how we make that sound. Think, 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 think. You're almost blowing the air through the limited space above your tongue, if that makes sense. So next one is could. Could. Very good. Okay, let's move on. Keep repeating, guys. Performance. Performance. Very good. And who can tell me, which syllable is our stress syllable in performance? You have to see first how many syllables there are. We have our syllable drum, performance, performance. 3. Which one is our stress syllable? Who can tell me? What do you think? Yeah, nice one, Michelle. It is the second one. So we have our little apostrophe before the F here, which shows that the next syllable after it is the stress syllable. So performance, not performance or performance. It's performance. If that makes sense for you. Lovely. Well done, Michelle. Okay, now we're moving on to which. Which. So which is used, and once again, please put in the comments any sentences that you can make using which. This is a good way of practicing the different ways of creating sentences with these words. So which is used when you are choosing between a limited number of options. It implies that there is a defined set of choices. Unlike that which suggests that you already have some specific alternatives in mind. Very good. So which dress should I wear tonight? Which of these books have you read? There is an option of them. So which dress, which of these books? Which way is the quickest to the station? Which of the candidates do you think is the best? There's an option there. Which flavor do you prefer, chocolate or vanilla? Which date works best for you? Okay, and let's move on to the next reason here. So which can also be used as a pronoun in non-interrogative sentences, often referring back to a specific, don't know what that says, but or choice previously mentioned. So I have 3 pens and I don't know which to choose. So we've already mentioned the pens, and now we're using which to substitute for the noun, the pronoun of pens, or like the noun of pens. So I have 3 pens and I don't know which to choose. So we're using this as a pronoun. The red car or the blue car, which do you like more? She gave me 2 options, neither of which is ideal. So this is quite a common phrase here. So neither of which. So this basically means none of them, neither of which. So just remember that one. That's a good one to remember when you want to come up with a sentence quickly, when you want to say none of them, basically, but in a more fancy way. Okay, Florence, which transportation do you prefer? By plane or by train? You could just say, which transportation do you prefer, plane or train, or the plane, or let me think. So, which transportation do you prefer, plane or train? This works. Or you could say, do you prefer to one second. Which do you prefer, traveling by plane or train? You could say it like this as well. But that works as well. Very good. We're getting some very good comments in today. Yeah, there are lots of very good things using these question words. Okay. So who is used to ask questions? Who is also used to ask questions about people? It is the subject of a sentence, meaning it refers to the person doing the action. So who is fundamental word in English, often used in both formal and informal contexts. I just realized I didn't go back and look through the red words, so let's go and do those before we move on to who. There we are. Okay, so number 1, which. Yeah, the plane or the train, which one do you prefer? Exactly, that's very good. Or which do you prefer, plane or train? You could just say either of those. Very good. All right. Candidates. Candidates. One sec. Prefer. Keep repeating, guys. Prefer. Very good. Chocolate. Chocolate. Great. Really, really good job. All right. So now let's move on to who. Who is a very common one. So quite often, if you don't know the person in which is being talked about, who is being talked, you might want to say who. So who is used about questions about people, as I said. It is the subject of a sentence, meaning it refers to the person doing the action. So who is a fundamental word in English. So in a sentence, we have a subject, a object. We have many different parts of the sentence. The subject is the person who does the action, and we use who when we're trying to question about that subject. Who is a fundamental word in English, often used in both formal and informal contexts. So it doesn't matter whether you're speaking formally or informally, you can use who. Who are you? Very good. So yes, we would use this if we didn't know who a person was. Who are you? Who is coming to the party? Who called you last night? You see, all of these people are the ones doing the action. Who is coming to the party? Who called you last night? Who wrote the book? Who is responsible for this project? Who will be attending the meeting? Who do you think will win the election? Okay, so we can add on to that now. Who can be used in a relative clauses to give more information? One second. More information about a person previously mentioned. So imagine we've already mentioned a person's name. So the woman who lives next door. No, yeah, so the woman, we already know who we're talking about now. So we've already mentioned this. And now we don't have to say the woman who lives the woman lives next door. We could just say the woman who lives next door to the doctor is a doctor. So we use it almost in a way of like that. So the woman that lives next door, but instead we'll use who. Yeah. Next up, we have the students who studied hard passed the exam. So we already have the person who we're talking about, the students. So now we only have to say who to actually just refer to them, basically. The man who you met yesterday is my friend. Who's speaking right now? Very good, Florence. Okay. So yeah, now we're going to look at who apostrophe S, a bit like Florence just put here. Yeah, so the person who is talking is an English teacher, absolutely. So who apostrophe S would stand for who is, as the apostrophe is standing in place of the I. Who is a contradiction of who is or who has. So whose or who has. It is used in questions in statements and should not be confused with whose, spelled W-H-O-S-E. The contraction is very common in spoken English and in formal writing. So let's look at some examples here. We have an itchy nose. Who's at the door? Who's been eating my cookies? So you see, they're spelled the same way, but one of them is who is and one of them is who has. So we can use this in both the present simple, who is at the door, and the who has been eating my cookies. Who's been eating my cookie? We're using it in this sense as well. Okay, so yeah, and this is the present perfect. There we go. Who's going to the meeting? Who's your best friend? Who's responsible for this mistake? Who's been using my computer? Okay, so you can use it in all of these different ways here, and even in two different tenses, or multiple tenses, you see. Let's look at our red words here, shall we? For both who and whose. So we have responsible. Jeez, my nose is very itchy because my hair keeps on itching it. Responsible. Responsible. Who's ever been in France? Exactly. Or we would usually say who's ever been to France. Because if we want to ask about someone going on holiday to somewhere, we'd say to. But yes, very good, Florence. Next one, friend. Friend. Mistake. Mistake. Great. Here we are on number 5. We have whose, spelled W-H-O-S-E. So whose is a possessive form of who. So like in many languages have cases, and English isn't as popular with having cases, but we do use a little bit of cases when it comes to showing possession. So we'll use possession when we say it's his car. He owns the car. So we'll say, so if we're saying James's car, we're going to say James apostrophe S, or just apostrophe if the name ends with an S. We don't have to add another apostrophe S. And in doing that, we are creating a case, which is our possessive form of the, like, we're creating a possessive form. So we know that someone owns something. Whereas we also have a possessive form of the word who, which is whose. So it is used to ask about ownership or possession. So the word is particularly used when you need to identify the owner of something or inquire about relationship. One second. Some of these words I can't read today because my face is over them. Oh gosh. 1 second. There we are. Yeah, so we're asking about who owns that thing, if that makes sense. And it's an important one because we want to be able to ask questions. Say we find someone's phone. Oh, whose phone is this? Asking that. And we're using almost a case in that sense. Okay, so our examples would be, whose keys are these? Whose keys are these? Very good. Whose idea was it to come here? So someone can own an idea as well. Whose phone is ringing? Whose house is just across the street? Whose responsibility is it to clean the kitchen? Whose turn is it to speak? And that was whose house is that across the street? Okay. In addition to questions, the whose can also be used in terms of relative clauses to indicate possession as well. So the man, like we said with who, we can also use whose as well. So the man whose car was stolen reported it to the police. So yep. So like with who, we could say the man who had his car stolen, or the man whose car was stolen. Depends on if we're talking about the possession there. She's the teacher whose class is the most popular. The child whose toy was broken started crying. So yeah, we're here, like we can use this because we already know who it is. Make sure that if you are using a sentence like this, you're saying who it is first. So the man, she, so she's the teacher, the child. You're expressing who it is, who owns that thing, and then you're using whose after that. Okay. Okay, let's go through our red words here. We have whose. That is our first one. Whose. Very good. Idea. Idea. Phone. Phone. Great. House. House. Great. Stolen. Stolen. Broken. Broken. Okay, so here we have whom. Is this our last one? Yes, so we have our last question word here, which is whom. So whom is used as the object of a verb or preposition. So it refers to the person receiving the action. Although whom is less commonly used in everyday conversation, it remains important in formal writing and speech. So it's the object. So the subject is the person doing the action. The object is the thing receiving the action. So whom did you invite to the dinner? So you did the inviting. Who was it that got that invite that you gave? So so you could say who invited you to dinner, because they then did the invite, so it will be who. But if you're the one doing the inviting, then it would be whom did you invite to the dinner? Okay. To whom should I address the letter? To whom should I address the letter? So what's the invite mean? So invite means when you give, so maybe you want someone to come to your party. So you'll give them a card saying, please come to my party. And that is an invitation. You're inviting them. You're saying that you want them to come to your party. I hope that helps you. With whom are you going to the concert? Whom did you meet at the conference? For whom was this gift intended? Whom are you going to call? So if you can put some examples with whom in the comments. I think this one will be one of the harder ones to use, but I'm sure that you guys can do it. So just remember that whenever you're using who, you are talking about the person who is doing the action. When you're using whom, you're talking about the person who is receiving the action. Okay, so a helpful tip to determine whether to use who or whom is to try substituting he, him for she, her, or she, her as the sentence. If him or her fits, use whom. So him or her is the person, is when we're talking about the person who is receiving something. So I invited him, I invited her. Or if you wanted to say that him or her were doing the inviting, you would say she invited me or he invited her. So that's a good way to do it. So if you want to look at she or her, she invited someone is the person who's doing the action, so it will be who. But whom would be the person who is receiving the action, so it would be him or her. Okay. To whom is concerned? Yes, exactly. That's a very good way to start a letter. To whom is concerned? and then on and on and on with the rest of the sentence, with the rest of the letter there. It's a very formal way to start a letter. So very good, Josine. Any more example sentences, please put them in the comments. That would be very good to see. Yeah, I mean, even for a native English speaker, sometimes getting who and whom mixed up can be a difficult thing, and it's very good to know the difference because it will make you sound much more eloquent and much more like it'll make your English sound much more native. You see. Okay, some examples. Oh yeah, so so an example one would be, he called the person whom he had met earlier. Him fits as well. So he called the person, he had called him who he had fit earlier. So he called the person whom he had met earlier. Who is going to the meeting? Who is going to the meeting? He is going to the meeting. It fits. To whom did you give the letter to? To him you gave the letter to. So him fits as well as whom. But yes, just always good to remember whom will be the person who is receiving the action, whereas who is the person who is doing the action. That is the difference here. Let's look at our red words, shall we? We have whom is our first one. Whom. Whom did you promise a gift? To whom did you promise? Yeah, to whom would make more sense there. To whom did you promise a gift? Very good. Yeah, exactly. Really, really good, Florence. Invite. 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 Okay. Address. Address. Concert. Concert. Very good. Conference. Conference. Great. Okay, so we're going to look at some practical examples here. We're going to look at how some of these things are used in the real world and in real conversations and sentences. Because it's always a good way to practice on how to actually use them in the real world, which is how you want to use language. So let's look at some sentences where these words are used in context to see the differences more clearly. Understanding how they work in real sentences will solidify your grasp of these important words. So what did you say versus which of these sentences did you say? So when we're saying what did you say, we're asking someone, it could be anything, like we're asking them exactly what it is did you say. There's no kind of option here that we're giving. We're just asking, what did you say? Like, just repeat what you said, basically. Whereas when we're saying which of these sentences did you say, we're inferring that there is an option there. There's an option between multiple sentences that they might have said. Number two, who is in charge versus whose responsibility is this? So who is in charge is asking who the person is who is at the top. Whereas whose responsibility is this is asking more who owns that responsibility. They're very similar sentences here, as are most of these. But yes, that is the kind of slight difference there. Whose responsibility is this? Who owns that responsibility? There we go. Who's coming up? Wait, who's coming with us versus whom should we invite? Who's coming with us versus whom should we invite? Okay, so who's coming with us is more of a who is coming with us. Which people are going to be joining us. Whereas whom should we invite is we're basically asking who should be the recipient, who should receive the invite of our action. Our action is to invite. Their action is to receive the invite. So then they are the subject of the sentence, which means we need to use whom. instead of who or whose. Okay, number 4. Which book do you want? Okay. Whose book is this? So here's quite a big difference here. So which book would mean that there is a plethora, which means a number, like there's an amount of books. So maybe you're in a bookshop and there's a number of books there and you want to choose one. So which book do you want? Which book are you going to choose, basically? And then whose book is this? You don't know who that book belongs to. So you're asking, whose book is this? Who owns that book? Whose is it? So in the first one, it's quite often like the first one would be an offer of a book or asking you which one you want to have, whereas the second one is asking who actually owns that book. Number 5, what are you thinking? Versus who knows the answer? So what are you thinking is asking someone directly what is in their mind, what words are coming to their mind, what are they thinking, like pretty much, what words are in their mind, what are they thinking about, versus who knows the answer. And this one is opening out to the room and asking if anyone in that room has the answer. Who knows the answer? Who has the information there? And number 6, who's ready to start versus to whom should we send the invitation? So who's ready to start is asking who is. You're asking to the people which of them are ready to start, and then if someone is ready, they'll put up their hand and say, yes, I am ready to start. So this is asking the question, who is ready to start? And this is versus to whom should we send the invitation? Once again, you are asking who should be the recipient, who should the invitation almost be given to, and that makes them the subject of the sentence. So we will use whom instead of who. There we go. All right, guys. Well, I hope that helped. And as you always know, and if you don't, you can always go back to the start of this and go through if anything wasn't clear. And you can always ask us questions as well. So please put any questions you might have in the comments. And if I don't manage to get back to them right now, then we will be able to comment back and reply to you and let you know what the right answer is. And in doing that, you're just going to get even better at your English. And I'm proud of you guys. You should be super proud of yourself. Your comments were great today. We're going to go through, before we leave, we're going to go through our last few red words here, and then we'll close off the video here. So number 1 here is responsibility. Responsibility. Should. Should. Okay, and last but not least, we have thinking. Thinking. Okay, guys, really, 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 really good job. Yes, so I hope that it went well. Please put any questions that you might have in the comments. There's no such thing as a stupid question. If you have the question, it's very likely that someone else has the same question and is also scared to ask the question out of fears of sounding silly, if that is the case. So just put them in there. It doesn't hurt to ask a question. If it's to ask a question that's related to the topic, and we will get back to them as quickly as possible. So yes, thank you guys for joining. It's always a pleasure. And I've been James. We've been ISpeakSpokeSpoken, and joyfully